We'll call the meeting of the City of Hayes Commission of February 25th, 2021 to order. First item on the order of business is the consideration of the approval of minutes from January 28th, 2021. Are there any changes or corrections?
I have none.
No.
They will stand as presented. Next on the agenda, we have the financial statement for the month of January 2021.
Good evening, Commissioners. Kim Rupp, Director of Finance. This is a report of financial summaries for the City of Hayes, month ended January 31, 2021. Revenues in January totaled $2,476,935. That was a decrease of $4.2 million compared to the same period as last year. Notable areas of increased revenue: water consumption for the month was up 11%, translating into a 10% increase in water revenue and 59% increase in conservation tier. Notable areas of revenue decrease: we didn't receive the allocation for property and motor vehicle taxes until February of this year, so when you compare that to last year, that drops that $3.9 million expected from that distribution. Accounts for the largest portion of the decrease in revenue.
I'll stop you there, Kim, and ask you about that then. What do we expect in February? Will it be 3.9?
It's about $3.9 million, so yeah.
Thank you.
And then the state gasoline tax for special highway revenues was off $10,100. Expenditures in January totaled $1,752,491. That's a decrease of about $2.2 million. Notable areas of increased expenditure when we compare to 2020. Airport other contractuals is up $20,000 due to the purchase of the ArcStar Air Service Development Report. Social services and special alcohol fund expenditures were up $114,000. That was due simply to timing of the paying of the Care Council allocations. Notable areas of decreased expenditure when we compare to 2020. A third payroll fell in January a year ago, thereby decreasing salaries across all those funds approximately $230,000. Library other contractuals fell $822,500 due simply to the timing of the payment of their allocation. That's in connection with that mentioned above, that $3.9 million we won't allocate to the library until we receive the funds. So, and then capital projects was down $430,000 as the North Vine Street corridor expenditures began a year ago. Month-to-date general fund sales tax collections were at $638,733. That's an increase, or basically flat, just an increase of $170. The 6-month average is at 2.47. That is a decrease of 2.5% when we compare it to 2020. And month-to-date county sales tax collections were at $74,637. The reported top 10 quarter-to-date sales tax collections by classification was down $206,000, or negative 9%. And mostly that was across all categories in those top 10. And then the portfolio certificates of deposit in January totaled $47,650,421 with a weighted average interest rate of 45 basis points. And that's down 1.67 from a year ago. The total balance of the money market account on January 31 was $6.75 million with a current yield of 5 basis points.
I'll make a motion that we accept the January 2021 financial statement.
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Mellick, second by Commissioner Musil to accept the financial statement. Any further questions? Okay. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Kim? Okay. Next item on the agenda is citizen comments on non-agenda items. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda for the mayoral appointments for the Care Council and the Hayes Convention and Visitors Bureau Advisory Committee.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Commissioner Musil and Michael Burgess. Any further discussion on that? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Passes 4-0. Next item on the agenda is the water conservation updates and 2021 programs.
Good evening. Holly Dickman, Water Conservation Specialist. This is the time of year when I come in and give you an update on what has been going on in 2020 and talk just a little bit about 2021. Let's go back in time first, and I know I showed some of you this last year, but I think it's always good in a reminder of how quickly things changed. This was back in 2012, around this time of year, and then by summer, we were in exceptional drought. So things can change very quickly. Right now, this is our current drought monitor. Actually, a new one came out today, but it did not change. So we are currently in moderate drought. And like that map showed previously, things can change really quickly. Hopefully we get some rain. The drought outlook through May shows that we are to have drought persisting or drought developing to areas to the south of us. Unfortunately, this is not what we like to see, but that's what they're predicting, is a fairly dry spring. So if I keep talking about it, maybe it'll start raining. This is just a 5-year summary of where we have been as far as precipitation goes. As you all recall, 2018 was extremely wet, and now last year, 2020, was just a little bit below average. So far for this year, we are slightly below average. We are at right under an inch of rain for the year, and typically at this time of the year, at the end of February, we're at an inch 21. So we are showing drought symptoms, and I have no idea what the rest of the year will do, but hopefully we'll get some rain. Moving into the rebate programs in 2020, toilets, once again, the most popular rebate program that we have. And in 2020, we rebated 351 toilets, so just a little bit over what we did last year. Average gallon per flush on those is 1 gallon per flush, so that's really good. Potential water saved, as you can see, around 7.9 acre feet. Washing machine rebates had a really good year. This year, in 2020, we gave out 152 rebates and 85 the year previously. And part of the reason for that was that we tiered that rebate. We made a higher efficiency machine get a $250 rebate versus a 3.7 to 3.3 integrated water factor machine getting a $100 rebate, which is what it had been historically. So out of all those washers, only 4 received $100 rebates. The rest of them were the $250 rebates. And again, potential water savings there, 5.2 acre feet. Outdoor water conservation programs for rebates, 2020 definitely took a toll on those, in my opinion. Turf conversions, we only had 7 total, whereas in 2019 we had 21. So that was a really hard hit program, but as you recall, back in the spring, everything kind of shut down, and that's the time of year that I would have been out doing a lot more of those pre-inspections, and that just wasn't taking place. Part of that, I believe, is that people just had other things on their minds, and it just was not a hot topic. And another thing, turf conversions tend to be a little bit pricey to do, so that may have stopped some people as well. Buffalo grass seed rebate was new for 2020. Unfortunately, it was a bad year to start a new program, so we had 1 rebate only in 2020. However, I did go on several pre-inspections, and even though some of those did not end up planting buffalo grass, they might have changed their mind and planted Bermuda grass. I thought they were all very beneficial because I got to talk to them about the grass choice and give them some advice. So even though it shows only 1 rebate was given, there was actually a better outcome from that program, I thought. As a result of that, one of my goals last year, was let's talk about showerheads first. Showerhead program in 2020 also took a hit, having the city hall closed for quite a while. I know people weren't coming in to pick those up, and the huge amount we had, not huge, but a huge amount we had in 2019, that was also 2 Fort Hays basketball games included where we handed out showerheads. So 93 only distributed this year, but again, I think COVID restrictions had something to do with that as well. Okay, moving on to education and outreach. If this is hard to read, that's how it felt. Everything was kind of switched up and changed around. Some of our things were the same. Did my first radio ad with a mask on. You know, that was all totally different. So there's lots of things we can talk about, but I'm going to focus on some of the more positive things. Traditional media and digital media, certainly a big part of our water conservation programming. So radio ads, TV ads, moving to more digital type ads. This is the first year that I have worked with KWCH, so we've done some digital ads with them, as well as had a couple of TV ads on that channel as well. Prime Media, we have switched as of December from doing the cable TV ads to the over-the-top streaming ads only. And for now, all I have to go off of is December so far, but 99.02% completion rate is what that means. So that means that was how the percentage of watching the whole ad, which I really like. And that's one of those streaming situations where you can narrow it into 67601 zip code, which is even better in my mind.
That's a good number.
It's a very good number. And just to give you a couple examples, these were some of the ads, and you may have seen some of these, but this was a Hayes Post ad we did, and then just some of the other digital ads. One thing I wanted to point out is with Nex-Tech, if I can get this to work, over here I use, or Prime Media I should say, we have these little ticker ads at the bottom of some of these websites, and those have been doing very, very well as also. We have been getting great above average numbers for clicks. And anytime someone clicks on one of those, it either goes back to watersmarthays.com or directly to a page that is being talked about, whether it's turf conversion, rebates, or something like that. So pre-COVID, we actually did quite a bit last year, and it was kind of surprising to me actually thinking about how long ago that was, but we did actually host a basketball game at the very first of the year, January 4th, and there was over 2,300 people that attended that, and of course we gave out information regarding water conservation. The men's and women's teams both wore Hayes shirts with a water conservation message on the front of them. Another thing I did last January was I had the opportunity to present for Science Cafe and talked about water smart landscaping. So that was an opportunity I had back then. Also, Water Smart Wally was invited to participate in the Fort Hayes mascot game, which was a lot of fun. So that was the first time we've been able to do that, and that was pre-COVID. And then also pre-COVID in March, going along that line of starting a new rebate program, I wanted to promote buffalo grass as much as possible. And so I presented the basics of buffalo grass in partnership with the Hayes Public Library, and we had a good turnout there. And after that, I also put together a web page on buffalo grass specifically and shared a lot of buffalo grass tips on social media throughout the month of June, especially because that's when we promote planting that type of turf grass.
Buffalo grass in shortage, like Home Depot, True Value, this places
Yes.
you go get grass seed.
So
Have any?
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to say that. Here I was hoping 2021 would be a great year for this rebate program, but I'm hearing that buffalo grass seed is in short supply. So with that being said, I can't make any promises for this rebate
If
program
they were to
this
go
year.
to get it, just go on Amazon or something, and order it online and purchase it that way, can they still use the rebate?
Yes. Yeah. And the rebate details are all on our website, but how that works is it's just a cost $10 per pound, up to 3 pounds per 1,000 square feet planting rate. So I hope we can find buffalo grass, but I know Sharps Brothers and some of the other big distributors are really
I was one of
struggling
those
to
that
get
went
it.
out to try to find it just for some patch spots in my yard.
Yeah.
And just could not find it.
Yeah. Moving on to social media, love it or hate it, this is where everybody's at. And so trying to focus more, especially in 2020, on some of these social media platforms. Just a few examples of some of the things that were put out last year. Please don't water, it rained. Always needed message in the summertime, it seems like. And then one thing that I tried to do last year, and I hope to do a lot more of, is to promote Plants for Hayes. And eventually, hopefully, have a web page dedicated to a list of these plants. So those seem to be popular posts. Anytime I'd put something regarding a plant for Hayes, it got shared or got commented on, liked, those sorts of things. Back to Fix a Leak Week in 2020, we were just gearing up, getting everything ready to go, and I was getting ready to deliver everything to the schools the day that the schools shut down. So unfortunately, that program did not take place in 2020, but I was able to promote the radio trivia still that week and still do some of those sorts of things. Schools were shut down. I was at home with my kids. We got creative with home videos, showing people how to search for leaks and things like that. So we did go ahead and move forward with Fix a Leak Week activities, even though it didn't happen. World Water Day Fun Fest was canceled. Water Smart Wally was very sad. Other events we had, Art Walk, all those things, everything was canceled. So Water Smart Wally went into quarantine or hiding essentially until the early fall. Another thing that happened was people were looking for things for their kids to do during that time. So I created a web page just for kids. Had some coloring sheets and links to other sites that had some games and things like that for kids regarding water. And promoted that quite a bit on social media as well. EPA Water Sense always has some good information, so we were promoting a lot of their things too. As I mentioned, we were getting creative. I was getting creative at home with saving water at home, little short videos. My kids were in it. And so those were all up on the web as well. And you can see 46 weeks ago, almost a year ago. So the water poster contest was underway. We had all the posters in because they were due March 12th, but we had to delay the judging. That got very much delayed. And then we were not able to do an in-person award ceremony. So what ended up happening was, thanks to Tri-Central, they let us put the posters up in their windows in May, and then Mayor Sean at the time came and Stacy Minton, and we did a Facebook Live. I was the camera person, and as you can see the views on that, I think we had a pretty good turnout for that Facebook Live. I've never had that many views on a video on Facebook before. So
All my fans.
that's right. So we made do, and we still got that completed. Fast forward to fall, September and October, I did get to have a booth at the downtown Hayes Market. So Water Smart Wally came out of quarantine or out of hiding, and he was there to help spread the message about water conservation. Like I said, there's tons of different things that we could talk about, but you guys have a full agenda tonight, so we'll keep it short. But one thing I did want to mention is the perennial garden at the Extension office. That was a partnership between Water Conservation and them, and they got their signage up, and everything is labeled there. So that's a really nice demo if you've ever had a chance to look at it. Moving forward, certainly I'm a big fan of working with others and partnerships and building relationships, and that's going to continue. And hopefully in 2021 we can do more of that. I do want to enhance the web pages and continue to take advantage of social media because I think it's working. And just keep spreading the message in any way I can. One partnership that I'm really excited about this year, and I know it's been brought up maybe once before, is this 4-H Water Ambassador Program. I got the idea by just studying Texas's Water Ambassador Program, and I approached the 4-H agent here in Ellis County, Susan Schlichting, and she was excited about it. So we got it going. We currently have, those are the partners that are working together, Stacy Minson with K-Care, and then the Kansas Wetlands Education Center. We have 4 kids right now that have gone through 2 trainings, and they are ready to go out and teach about water to their 4-H clubs, daycares, after-school care, any place, libraries, wherever they have opportunity to do that, they will do that. They had an interview to get the position, and it was taken very seriously. So we are excited. We just have the 4 kids this year, but we're hoping this can be a program that will continue to grow in future years and will recruit more kids. This is the partnership with the Cottonwood Extension District, so we do have 1 kid from Barton County. The other 3 are from Ellis County. So we're going to have them included with our World Water Day Fun Fest coming up in March, and you'll be seeing more and more of those kids. Moving forward also, just to continue to evaluate current programs, I'd like to look a little closer at the washer rebate, some of those types of things, maybe some additional ideas. If you have ideas, please send them my way. I'm always open to that. And obviously the ultimate goal is always to keep spreading the message and get more people to know the value of water and water conservation. So with that, if you have any questions.
Comments or questions or anything? Okay.
Great job as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Holly. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think through my son, the poster contest for this year is already off and going.
Good.
I think the kids in school are already working on their posters.
Good deal. And adults are welcome to enter too, so encourage people to enter. Thank you.
Ron, I look forward to seeing your poster.
All right. Next on the agenda, we have the Bickel-Schmidt Sports Complex shade structures award a bid.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jeff Boyle, Director of Parks. I'm here this evening to talk to you about shade structures for the complex. A few weeks back, the Commission discussed the idea of using a portion of the quarter-cent Ellis County sales tax money to do a few quality of life things that we need here in Hayes. This is one of the most complained about issue that we have at the complex right now. The current shade structures just simply aren't large enough, and they weren't built with the angles and the things that were necessary and needed. So we are looking at 8 shade structures. It's the little red areas behind the backstops there. These shade structures are kind of you can see they're kind of a V-shaped. There's 8 of them total, and they literally, compared to what we have now, we basically have about 700 square feet of shade structure behind each backstop at this point. These new shade structures, if you approve them, would have 2,130 square feet. And I point out that that's uninterrupted shade, uninterrupted roof. So what we currently have on each side, we have a little area right here, and then there's one on this side that have a cover on them. Well, what happens is the sun can come in from all different angles. They literally just don't provide enough shade at all for even even midday when the sun's coming straight down on them. They just literally do not provide enough shade. It also shows the approximate dimensions there of what they would be. These are the actual dimensions as drawn. Again, the continuous roof makes a huge difference. We did some looking at how the sun would come in and penetrate and do some various things with a couple of different companies, and it was kind of neat, the different things that they were showing us. So this is the way to do it and do it properly. The low bid is a wood frame structure, metal roof, and similar to the 2 pictures on the bottom. The top 2 are just the little side wings, just kind of show some 3D dimension. Really, the ones on the bottom are the ones to look at. That's kind of what they would look like. They would have the wrapped post, so you wouldn't see the wood. Each post would be wrapped in metal, and the roof is also metal. So what that's going to do for us is keep the birds and the critters from getting up in there and making messes on the bleachers and those sort of things. So they're really nice. This is actually the shade structure that is over the playground on the southwest quad. The low bidder today, the one that we are recommending, is the company that built the shade structure, among a lot of other park structures throughout our community. The bids, when they came in, this is the bid tabs. You can see they were significantly lower than the second place bidder. Now, I will tell you that the other 4 bidders did bid a metal framed building with a metal roof. So there's a little more cost involved there. The budget that the commission set aside for this was $550,000. So we're right at $100,000 under budget. And this is the action requested if you so choose to move forward.
I'll make a motion to approve the low bid from Quality Structures, Inc. and authorize the city manager to sign contracts for the installation of 8 shade structures at the Bickel-Schmidt Sports Complex for the amount of $451,280 to be paid from the commission capital reserve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Musel and a second by Commissioner Melick. Any further questions or comments?
think Jeff did a good job last week of explaining, all of our concerns, and mine was wind shear and how they're rated to 125 mile an hour, and I think that is, we're not going to get much more than that. So I appreciate you looking into that, because wind has caused a lot of problems out there at the sports complex, whether they be for the bleachers, for our awnings, for any of our shade structures. So thank you very much for that, Jeff.
Thank you.
And I had some people from out of town that come to our tournaments every year, and they were very impressed that, we're going to be doing this, because, that is the biggest complaint, is you sit out there between games, and it's pretty miserable, midsummer. So I'm
Totally agree.
yeah, I'm excited for this.
One thing I did fail to mention, it looks like we're adding about 12 days to the time frame that I gave you last week. Last week I told you April 1 to May 1. They're looking at April 12th for the delivery date now. So I just want to make sure the commission is aware of that it's about 12 days longer than I told you last week.
And the first tournament out there is May 4th, is that right?
We have some in March.
There's some in March, okay.
But we'll be able to work around those tournaments. We're working with Hayes Rec on that. There's a couple of fairly large ones, but we'll move some bleachers around and make it usable. And we are going to put some signage out on the entryway so that folks know what's coming to help kind of maybe take that pain away a little bit for their tournament. But
I think they'll understand.
yeah, it'll be really nice when they're done. They'll be happy. They'll be very appreciative.
How many tarp structures? It was brought up to me this week, and we could certainly do this a lot cheaper with a tarp type product. And I don't agree with going with a tarp. How many? But I kind of brought up to this person that brought this to my attention, I guess, as far as a question is. But we've replaced in the last couple of years at least 2 tarp structures that have done damage.
In 2018, 2 of them were literally, well, one of them was completely destroyed, even including the frame. And then the second one on the northeast quad, it actually bent the frame on one side and took the cover off. So, we've had a lot of problems with those fabric top structures.
Throughout the city, there's been other tarp areas that we've had to.
We have some behind each concession stand that are also fabric top. And what we're seeing is about 2 to 4 years, you basically have to replace the top, and those are anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000.
I touch on the warranties here are pretty substantial. I mean, this is a 60-year warranty, but it just says the columns. Is that the wood itself on a 60-year, and then it says 40 years for the metal panels?
Yeah, so the columns are the posts that the structure would sit on. Let me back up.
What does that warranty kind of cover as far as?
Well, the 60-year warranty covers the wooden posts that are underneath there. Basically, what that is they won't come unlaminated because they're laminated posts, so they would not come I think unlaminated is the word, they're treated lumber under for the first 12 foot, I believe it is. They're treated lumber, so basically it's a warranty that covers anything that goes wrong with those posts. Now, as far as the tin, there's 2 different warranties on the metal. It's a 40-year warranty against peeling and cracking. It's only 35 years against chalking and fading. So that's the 2 different things going on there with the metal. But the only place that we've really had issues with this type of metal is at the swimming pool, and that's over the chemical room. So the company that installed that originally said that that's why that paint is peeling, is because it's getting contaminated with the high chlorines and the things that are going on inside that pump house. So,
If I'm 85 years old and it's chalky and faded that time, we can
address it then.
worry about them. But I think these are pretty substantial warranties.
Yeah.
Addressing the comment to me from this week as far as could we do it cheaper with tarp or something? We certainly could, but I disagree with that just for those reasons. And again, the warranties that I look at is like, these aren't 10-year warranties or something where we're going to revisit this here down the road. These structures should last us our lifetimes at least.
Right.
Well, and those tarps give such a limited amount of shade. As the sun moves, it really doesn't work. So this is going to be so much better. But I agree with the warranties that,
we have 2 different types out there. We have the large shade structures that have the fabric tops, and we also have the little panels, that are on the dugouts and over the current shade structures. And those little panels, the surface area of those are minimal. And yet, every time the wind blows 55 miles an hour, we're renting scissor lifts and fixing, X amount of panels every time the wind blows like that. So it's been a real treat for us with regards to fabric top structures. If we weren't out there and we're in an area where the trees were tall and houses around it where the wind could be broken up, I think we could probably discuss that as an option, but I simply would not recommend that at the complex anymore.
So the time the warranty's out, the trees will be big enough, right?
Right.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Next item on the order of business is a resolution authorizing the offering for sale of general obligation bonds, Series 2021-A.
Good evening, Commissioners. Kim Rupp, Director of Finance again, City staff, City Financial Advisor Stiefel, Nicholas and Company, and City Bond Counsel Gilmore Bell have been working on documentation in preparation for the sale of General Obligation Bonds Series 2021A. This series is an issue to reimburse expenditures in connection with the North Vine Street Corridor project. The city's share of the North Vine Street Corridor project costs were initially paid to KDOT in May 2020 from available capital project funds. Using those funds and the build grant, KDOT has been paying project costs as incurred. After construction, KDOT will audit the project and credit or bill the city for any change orders or variations in costs. There was a question last week, what happens if we owe, and we're confident that we'll be about a year and a half in on this issue with transient guest tax collections that we would be able to handle that. Also in May 2020, the City Commission passed Ordinance 3982 designating certain city streets as main traffic ways. It's the first step in authorizing these bonds for the North Vine Corridor under Kansas law, and then the second step of the process set forth in Kansas law involves adopting this resolution authorizing the GO bond financing for the project. The resolution authorizes the financial advisor, bond counsel, and finance director to proceed with prep and distribution of a preliminary official statement and notice of bond sale and all other preliminary action as is necessary to sell. So as bond sales go, we have a couple of trips back to you with this in the timeline. Last week we reviewed the sale resolution with our financial advisor on the phone, and then we'll be asking for approval this evening. Then in a month, on March 18th, we'll be back at that work session to review a bond resolution and ordinance. Those are in connection with the actual sale of the bonds, and that actual sale will be held on March 25th as we plan right now. We'll then be here with David to present the results of the bond sale and then pass the ordinance resolution authorizing that issuance. All costs for the North Vine Corridor have been paid for out of idle funds. It's been our practice, given the poor investment interest rate environment, to run those through the Capital Projects Fund. We determined it wasn't economically feasible to issue any temporary financing because idle funds could easily handle this. However, favorable interest rates in the bond market make it desirable to offer for sale GO bonds to pay for those expenditures. So we're estimating total par value of the bond issue to be $6.795 million. This reimburses the city its share of the project as well as covers the paying agent, Kansas Attorney General, QSIP Service Bureau, Bond Counsel, Financial Advisor, and Rating Agency, and then publication and printing. True interest costs, when we first started this, was estimated to be at about 1.77, with an estimated payment of $338,000. That would begin in 2022 and be paid for by the 2% transient guest tax that went into effect on October 1, 2018. I will tell you, within the last week, bond market has increased and has actually outpaced treasuries a little. If we were to have gone to sale today, we'd be more at the 2% range, putting us at about $348,000 in payment. Talking with David a little about that, he feels it's a correction, might likely come back off a little. We have a month to go, anything can happen, so no promises, I guess. It's also suggested then that a sinking fund be used to capture any excess transient guest tax over and above the annual debt service to use towards future payments. Thereby, we reduce our term, we reduce our interest costs. Those have a possibility of retirement in 10 years. So in 10 years, having built up that sinking fund, we should be able to handle that. As a reminder, and mainly for information for the viewing public, we did have the financial advisor on the phone last week. He reviewed our process and gave us a little bit of an update on the bond market conditions. Other questions that were asked last week I wanted to review just real quick. It was asked whether we really need a bond rating with S&P, and the answer was yes, given since the Great Depression, there's been a move towards greater quality. Investors are a little more picky. S&P happens to be the norm, the most accepted way that ratings are given, and credit quality is established. So we will be pursuing a rating. Also on the amortization schedule, it was asked how that occurs or how that's determined, and that schedule is given at the time of the bid. We want to control that. We want a level debt service payment, and so we put in those maturities, and then the bidders apply coupon rates to each of those maturities, and then that's averaged, and that's basically what we get with the true interest costs. And then we talked a little bit about the sinking fund and then the audit. So we had those other questions. So options this evening would be hopefully to approve that resolution. You could do nothing or provide us with other direction. And this would be our recommendation and action requested tonight.
I'll move to approve resolution number 2021-004, authorizing the offering for sale of general obligation bond series 2021-A.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Burgess, second by Commissioner Melick. Any further questions or comments for Kim?
Kim, I'd like to emphasize that that there's not going to be any general fund money paying this debt off, that it will be strictly transient guest tax, that the taxes within the city of Hayes will not be going up, correct?
The plan would be that the transient guest tax would handle that. Caveat is this is a general obligation bond, general obligation of the city. So should that fall short, yes, we would potentially need general funds. But it's planned. We've been conservative. Another reason why we're staying at the 25-year. Keep that payment level, keep it lower, let the transient guest tax recover from the COVID issues we've had, get a year and a half in. We feel then we'll be on a good track, and transient guest tax should be able to handle those payments from here on.
Thank you, Kim.
The sinking fund, where is that maintained? Do we maintain that internally? Or?
Correct. We'll create a separate fund and transfer that access.
Do we start that sinking fund immediately?
Sure.
Is this sinking fund ability for future commissions to be able to essentially fund it or not fund it?
It's possible that a future commission could opt out of that, yes.
And do we know what internal interest rate we'll be getting on that? Does it go to?
It would be part of our portfolio, so it would get a portion of the, if it's determined and it grows to a point that it's determined it's a major fund, and there's some machinations into that, but if it's determined it's a major fund, then it will get the regular interest rate we get on our portfolio.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, if not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, passes 4-0. Thank you, Kim. Next up on the order of business, we have the ordinance amending D&J Land and Development Community Improvement District CID start date and development agreement.
Still Kim Rupp, I got one more. So on March 2nd, 2020, the city clerk received a petition to create the D&J Land Development CID. On May 14, 2020, the City Commission passed Ordinance 3984 authorizing the projects described in that petition and creating the D&J Land and Development Community Improvement District. That imposes a 2% improvement district sales tax and was scheduled to commence on April 1, 2021. Also in May, on May 14th, 2020, the City Commission entered into a development agreement with D&J Land. The development agreement also defined the CID terms as commencing on that April 1, 2021. Statute authorizes the City Commission to create those CIDs and finance projects within the defined areas of the city and to levy CID sales tax on property for a period not to exceed 22 years. Given the start date of the D&J Land CID was well defined as April 1 in that ordinance and development agreement, statute requires that the clock begin on that date. Following the passage of the ordinance 3984, the development agreement, the developer realized that the 22-year clock on the approved CID would begin prior to their project completion. So to maximize the full revenue potential from the CID, D&J has requested the ordinance and development agreement be amended and reflect a new CID start date of October 1, 2021. This has been done for one other CID in town in the past and does not present any other legal or financial considerations. So pretty simple, very straightforward. Options would be to approve the ordinance, do nothing this evening, or provide us with other direction. We are recommending and asking for action on this ordinance.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 3994, amending ordinance 3984 of the City of Hays, Kansas to commence the Community Improvement District sales tax on October 1st, 2021, and approve the first amendment to the development agreement with D&J Land and Development, LLC.
Seconded.
Motion by Commissioner Musil, seconded by Commissioner Burgess. Any additional comments or questions?
No.
If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, next up on the order of business, we have the City Manager Employment Agreement, the 13th addendum. Action requested this evening would be to approve the 13th addendum to the City Manager Toby Doherty's employment agreement dated June 28, 2007 as presented. Are there any additional questions or comments on this item?
I think we've pretty well gone over this in executive session, and I think it's a fair addendum for the city manager and for the city commission.
No further comments. I will
Make a motion.
ask for a motion, please.
Make a motion that we approve the 13th addendum to the city manager Toby Doherty's employment agreement with the city of Hays dated June 28th, 2007 as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Melick, second by Commissioner Musil. If there's no further discussion or comments, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Okay, next up we have some progress.
Good evening, Colin Belzer, Assistant City Manager. And for this last month's progress report, not surprisingly, Public Works have been doing a lot of snow removal lately. When fair weather begins, they'll be busy, patching the potholes that will form, but that's what they've been up to last month is this. And then also, Public Works Director Jesse Rohr wanted to make sure that the shout out goes to the solid waste crew who had to brave those frigid temperatures to continue collecting the recyclables, especially because that's what when they're outside. Parks Department, growing up in Western Kansas, it's really nice that the City of Hays has something like this. Sometimes it's hard to find a good hill to sled down, so Hickok Park was definitely busy. They also were busy removing snow with parks and public sidewalks. Also, pictures without snow on the ground really, but some tree maintenance that they continue to do. 14 trees were identified for removal in parks along storm water canals, and then there'll be new trees planted in the spring. They're gearing up for more park season this spring, redoing barricades, performing maintenance on equipment. Also completing playground inspections and repairs, so when it's warm out. So this is the law enforcement center data center expansion. So a couple of pictures. The picture on the far left, my left, would be the current IT room. And so you can kind of see the narrow space between the wall and the infrastructure. And then that's the wall on the other side. So it's a very small room. Behind that room used to be a shower room, and it's no longer in use. So they constructed a doorway. And then the two pictures on the right are basically all the new equipment that was required for the public safety software that the county's going through. So much needed additional space. The police, Sergeant David Vlasing provided verbal de-escalation training for the entire department. He is one of 2 certified trainers in verbal de-escalation. Also, Lieutenant Jeff Ridgway met and spoke with Cub Scouts about being a police officer. Holly Dickman presented the Water Smart landscape to both horticultural classes at Hayes High School and within the last month. They're also promoting the water poster contest. So Holly Dickman's been out to Fort Hays State and TMP to present about those. The water plant lab, as you know, is getting renovated. So picture on the left is of that work occurring, and then on the right is kind of the makeshift temporary lab that's been set up so they can continue to make sure our water is tastes good. Also, frigid cold that they had to deal with is quite a few water leaks lately. This is one that happened the week of February 15th. It actually happened at 11:30 at night is when they got the call, so they were there pretty much all night working in the hole. CVB was able to produce a video for Hilton Garden Inn, really showcasing the conference center capabilities that Hayes has now more than anything. It's about 5 minutes. It's really well put together by city staff. Airport and CVB sponsored a basketball game again this year, a little bit different because of COVID. But we did give away 2 SkyWest vouchers for 2 round trip tickets to Denver. And they accepted the game ball, as you can see. Tallgrass continues to move forward even in the cold weather when they can. Continue to work on water and sewer infrastructure. And then the I-70 or Hess addition, Truck Plaza. The pictures, the 2 left pictures, far left and middle is basically down in the trench box. It's about 16 feet deep. And then at the very bottom, there's this boring machine. It's kind of on tracks, and it's pushing a sewer line, boring it underneath. I don't know why it's frozen, but all the way underneath the interstate. So, any questions?
Thank you.
A lot of good progress. All right, thank you. All right. Next up, we got commission inquiries and comments. Commissioner Musil.
I got nothing.
Nothing.
I would like to thank all the city staff that has to work outside, whether
Oh.
it be police, fire, solid waste, water, all of our parks department. They have to get out and they move a lot of snow for us. And so all of those people, when the rest of us were huddled down inside talking about how cold it was, they were out there taking care of city business. And that's what keeps our city going, is that they're out there for all of us all year long, whether it be hot or cold.
Very good information. I had asked the city manager what we did at the wastewater plant during the, I don't know what you call it, when it was really cold, and it asked us to conserve energy in our community, what we did.
Toby Doherty, city manager. Yes, when Midwest Energy asked customers to cut back on their usage in order to decrease the load, we turned the thermostats and some of the down and some of the lights off in all of the buildings. But also Jeff Chrisman, Water Resources Director, took the water reclamation facility and then the water treatment facility offline, ran them on generator in order to decrease the load. So it was able to help out a little bit, and it gave us a good test of running the full systems at length on load. The generators are tested regularly, but we learned that we should probably take it offline more and run them off generator for longer periods of time.
Well, as Ron said, kudos to city staff, because that's something I would have never thought of. Thank you.
Commissioner Burgess.
It's Ladies' Night for May 1st. Happy birthday to my lovely wife, Erica, who I'm sure is not watching. Secondly, congratulations to the Fort Hays Lady Tigers, who I won just a little bit earlier and are MIAA champions. And then thirdly, Sarah Zimmerman is wrestling for a state title in girls wrestling. And as far as I can tell, I think she's on the mat right now in Salina. So congratulations to her for at least making the finals. I know she pinned the #1 ranked wrestler to make it to the finals. So
Really? I didn't know that. That's
I've
awesome.
been recycling my screen here to see what the score is, but right now it shows 0-0. But congratulations to her for making the finals.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'd like to echo my fellow commissioners on city staff, getting Hayes through that, whatever that was. A lot of firsts happening, at least in I think a majority of our lifetimes now. COVID,
No, we don't talk about that.
deep temperatures, all the negative things. We got a lot of good things coming up, though. 2021 is just beginning. We got a lot of good things coming up. And that's really all I had. Do we have any executive sessions?
Yes, I would request the commission call for an executive session for matters pertaining to the acquisition of real property, to include the city commission, city attorney, city manager, assistant city manager, and director of the Hays Regional Airport for a period not to exceed 10 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Melick, second by Commissioner Musil. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion passes 4-0. We will come back in, what, 7:31? Is that what you said?
Once the room clears, Kim will give you the official time to
Oh,
get
okay.
back.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.